They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Oh yeah, what's up? Can y'all hearing any background shit? I'm in my hotel room in St. Louis, Missouri, and some kind of city noises just started happening outside.
I ain't got no city noises. I put the Toby Keith filter on, and that won't allow city noises in.
Good. Okay. It hits for me. Yeah. Also, I guess I should say that Corey isn't. He was going to be here, but he ain't here because of some family stuff. But I think everything should be fine. But he ain't here. But the Indian Outlaw is. Tushar, how's he doing?
Hell yeah. I am glad to be back.
I'm sure you heard about the loss of Toby Keith this week, huh?
I was almost, this is going to sound maybe to some of your listeners a mean thing to say, but I was almost glad it happened because then I got this email to be like, hey, you guys want to do this thing? And it brought us back together, you know?
I don't think that's going to be mean for our listeners.
Right.
Well, hang on. I want to tell you, because there's no other place to do this. It's completely not related to Toby Keith, whatever, but it's something I would have said on a regular episode of the WellRED podcast. I just wanted to tell y'all because it's funny. Last night in the middle of the night. So first of all, if I've drank the night before, I don't get like hammered or anything anymore. I just mean if I've drank it all the night before, I always keep a bottle of water by my bedside, no matter what. Every night of my life, I keep a bottle of water in case I wake up with like dry mouth or something. But if I've drank the night before, I'll wake up at least a couple or 3 times, very parched, grab the water, throw it down, right? Do that all the time. Very much par for the course for me. Nothing ever happens. Last night, in the middle of the night, for me, so about 7 a.m. or something, but hours before I would wake up otherwise. So the middle of the night for me, I somehow fully in my sleep, totally unconsciously, grabbed this bottle of water off my nightstand and just dumped it all over my whole face and body in my sleep. And woke up, of course, immediately, like, what the fuck? Just like dripping wet, got the whole goddamn bed wet, the fucking blankets, everything. I had to like go get towels, and thankfully they had extra blankets in my hotel closet and stuff that I pulled out and had to sleep on like this little sliver of the bed because there was the only dry part left because I just threw a bucket of water on myself in my sleep in the middle of the night. Y'all ever done anything like that? Because it didn't hit.
Well, first of all, go Dogs, I think.
Yeah.
Secondly, no, I've never. No.
Me neither.
That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to do.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. But it's like I drink in my, I don't know. Maybe it's like I knew unconsciously or subconsciously I was aware that I was thirsty. And so my not awake body just tried to drink water, but you can't do that if your brain ain't awake. So I just somehow managed to grab it and just throw it all over myself.
It's maybe the most embarrassing way to wet the bed at your age.
Yeah, I don't know. I think pissing everywhere, especially pissing. I mean, I'll take this over.
Buddy,
pissing.
This might be worse.
I don't know.
It's just water.
If somebody was in the bed, if somebody was in the bed with him, you, Tushar, you would be way less embarrassed if you accidentally dumped water than if you pissed.
Right. Correct. It's the best way to wet the bed.
Also, if I had like pissed the bed, I'd have to fucking I didn't even have housekeeping or nothing come in here. I just let the bed dry out because it's literally just water. So who cares? Okay. But if it was pee, they'd have to come in here. They'd know. I'd know they'd know. That would hit way less. But anyway, I just wanted to share that because I thought it was, funny and silly and weird, but also sucked. But I managed to go right back to sleep still after maybe 15 minutes of dealing with it and slept for like 5 more hours. So
if you had pissed the bed, would you tell anyone or would you just put down like a couple towels over it?
No. Oh, in the middle of the night, again, it wasn't the middle of the night. It's 7 a.m, but the middle of the night to me, if I woke up and it pissed everywhere, if there was any part of the bed that did not have piss on it, I probably would just try to go back to sleep on that part of the bed. And then when I woke up, I would have to swallow my pride because this is my first day here. I got 2 more days here. I'd have to call housekeeping and have them come replace my pissy sheets and blankets and stuff. But I didn't.
Yeah, I spilled water. I don't know. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was trying to drink it and I just threw it all over my face. And has it ever happened to you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, right. But also you know, I don't know. You could smell it. You could tell by the color, whatever. But anyway, I don't know.
No, I'm convinced you pissed the bed and you're running your lie on us. You're like, now if these boys will buy it, I can get the housekeeper to buy it.
No, I promise. I think it's why. Or what happens more often? You think definitely pissing the bed, right? Like for sure. I think what I did is easier to handle, but like is weirder or more noteworthy. I think because I don't sleepwalk or nothing. You know, like I don't do things in my. I might talk in my sleep a little bit, but I don't get like my Katie and my son and my youngest son. They sleepwalk, so they'll get up and walk around and do shit and open the fridge and all this stuff while sleeping. It's wild as hell to me, but I don't do nothing like that. So I don't know how the hell I managed to pull this off, but didn't hit.
You woke up though, right?
I didn't do what?
It's one hell of an alarm clock. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, I definitely fucking shot right up and immediately was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. What the fuck? You know, I'm like cussing myself out and shit. Like, cause I'm still holding the goddamn empty bottle like in my hand. It's like, you know, not much of a whodunit. It's pretty clear what happened. Y'all don't hear that?
No.
Okay, well, I'm glad. It sounds so loud to me, these city noises I'm dealing with. Anyway.
Bubba Shot the Podcast, and that's right. A show about country at its height. Don't expect no shit from 2005. Bubba Shot the Podcast, and that's right.
Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode, bringing it back, Bubba Shot the Podcast. We're here today, everyone, to reflect on the life of a man that, while a huge component of 90s country music, and you can check out our episode from season 1 on his greatest song, Should Have Been a Cowboy, a top tenor of all time. But I'd argue that his decade was really the 2000s, where he dominated the charts and the zeitgeist. I'm speaking, of course, about the incomparable and recently deceased Toby Keith. I'm thinking about how to open this episode. I really had to consider how I wanted to do this because, on the one hand, this is a 90s music podcast with basically no agenda other than nostalgia and be funny. And Toby Keith makes me feel nostalgic, and he was fucking hilarious. On the other hand, we launched this podcast on the WellRED platform, which is ostensibly, you could argue, a thing that exists in direct opposition to the culture we were raised in high school in the South post 9/11, which was Toby Keith's professional sweet spot. Toby was a firebrand. He was the ultimate example of a divisive artist. And I don't say that word lightly because he was for sure that, an artist. He was beloved. He was hated. There was a controversy in his home state this week, boys, of Oklahoma, that I really think sums up his relationship with his fans, where they didn't put the flags at half-mast for him. And they didn't do that because that's usually reserved for someone who served in the military or civilly, and he never did either. But some people were very upset at this. And weirdly, I think that is the best way to honor him because it's the exact type of dumb culture war bullshit that he would pretend to be mad about in the middle of his career, while also being a genuine reflection of respect and love because they were upset and the governor relented and put the fucking flags at half-mast for Toby Keith. So today we're going to reflect and we're going to mourn and we're probably going to ridicule. And that's what you should do when someone dies. And that's something that I think country music and country music singers are best at in the world. So I'm glad we're doing it. But to lay out the episode, I'll give you a mission statement, if you will, folks. And Toby Keith loved fucking missions. We're not here today necessarily to disparage or necessarily uplift this guy. We're just going to talk about him. And I want to be very clear that while I do hate the post 9/11 stuff Toby Keith did, it's more about what it did to country music and less about its message. And that's not an attempt to blame Toby Keith entirely for the culture shift to xenophobia and a propaganda level of support the troops mentality we saw in country music. But it is a way to attempt to, you may say backhandedly, but I disagree, honor him. Because whatever you want to say about him, you have to admit he was a fucking trendsetter. He defined and shaped the genre of country music from 2001 to 2006, arguably more than anyone. There was a hunger for strength in America. We felt scared. That made some people feel weak. And Toby Keith capitalized that, and he captured it And I don't know if he put a boot in anything's ass, but he sure as shit put some songs on the chart, and he put some money in the bank. And of course, along the way, he nearly derailed the career of the artist formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, but he also helped revive Willie Nelson's career and did a nearly perfect kitschy country song, a subgenre we love, of course. I mean, the name of this podcast is Bubba Shot the Podcast, and Beer from a Horses is just as good of a song. So that brings us to how we usually open these shows, and I'm going to tell you what song we are covering today. It's not Beer from a Horses. This is a 90s country music podcast, so the song we go after today won't be from the 2000s, as that song is. It could be. We could do whatever the fuck we want, and that's something that Toby for sure lived and emulated, and that's what we're going to do. We could go with As Good As I Once Was from 2005 because it's my second favorite Toby Keith song, and we can make jokes about him being dead from cancer. He for sure ain't as good as he once was, but that's not the vibe today. If we wanted to be really petty, we could go with He Ain't Worth Missing from 95 and spend the whole show shitting on him on behalf of the chicks, but I don't want to be petty. And that just doesn't feel right for Bubba, so what we're going to do is we're going to choose my second favorite song because the truth is I fucking love Toby Keith, and I hated him, and I loved him. And what I loved about him is so close to what I hated about him, which is that he had this almost unearned brashness mixed with just enough self-deprecation that when he filtered it through his ability as a songwriter, he can make you feel the way, honestly, a great comedian does. Like, it's okay to laugh at yourself, and it's okay to laugh at your enemies. Fuck them. And that's why I chose this song that we're doing today. I think it's his third best. It is the best story, though, and it is How Do You Like Me Now, coming in under the wire in November of 1999. Welcome to Bubba Shot the Podcast. It's Toby Keith Day. Gentlemen, what's up? Are you ready for the facts?
Drew, you were talking about carefully choosing the song, and when I heard that you had picked How Do You Like Me Now, I thought it was like a, like, how do you like me now that I'm in my grave type of thing is what you were doing. I mean,
I thought about that joke for sure, but the other two jokes I referenced would have been more on the nose, which is He Ain't Worth Missing and I Ain't As Good As I Once Was.
I always loved Should Have Been a Cowboy, but I always kind of viewed that song as more of an anomaly than anything, frankly, because in high school, Toby Keith I graduated high school in 2004 from Clay County High School in Clay County, Tennessee. So, like, Toby Keith.
I don't want to cut you off, but I'd like to get to the facts of the song since we always do that up top. And now,
okay, go ahead.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. How Do You Like Me Now is a song co-written and recorded by American country artist Toby Keith, released in November 1999 as the second single and title track of the album of the same name. He co-wrote it with Chuck Cannon, I think. This is one thing that's interesting that we'll get to later, boys. There's some commentary on a message board that claims that a guy who can prove that Toby had paid him for some songs, that this guy wrote it but didn't get full credit, which is interesting. And he says he never sued him because he thinks Toby bought it from him maybe outright in a bar in 1993. But it was a number one country song beginning in March of 2000. And it was number one for 5 weeks. And it was his first major crossover hit, peaking at number 31 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, which is all genres. And it was the first number one single for the now defunct DreamWorks Nashville label. This was the fourth number one hit of his career and his first since Me Too in 1997. That's wild. Toby Keith wrote a Me Too song. But I do think it crosses over into what you were, I think, about to get out, Trae. You said it was an anomaly. That Should Have Been a Cowboy was an anomaly. It is in terms of his hits. But I think what you're about to describe, and I'm going to let you go with it now, since this came out in 99, is there was a shift in Toby Keith's career around this time, and Should Have Been a Cowboy wasn't an anomaly, but it is now looking back on the major hits because he had so many huge hits during this second phase. Go ahead with that.
Yeah, well, first of all, before I forget, you said you're like, Toby Keith had a Me Too song. How about that? He did have a song that was kind of like Me Too-ish, but not pro Me Too. It's called Get Out of My Car. Do y'all know that song by Toby Keith? That's from 2010. The chorus ends, get out of your clothes or get out of my car. so
what year was that? 2015?
2010, actually.
Man, I really for sure thought you were going to say 2001. 2010, he said, get out of your car and get out of my car. All right, go ahead with that.
Anyway, what I was going to say is I graduated high school in 2004 from one of the most rural counties in Tennessee. And so Toby Keith was huge by the time I graduated high school. And I was a little bit of a contrarian, but also like I just, I was anti the Iraq war and all that. I was liberal queer in the school already. And so I was not enjoying Toby Keith's output at that time, especially the fact that many of my redneck buddies were like worshiping him. So I was not a Toby Keith fan overall, generally. Also, the whole Dixie Chicks thing, I hated George Bush, so I was on the Dixie Chicks side with all that shit, even back then. But as with a lot of the guys, but Toby Keith's like the prime example. The following year, the most recent decade of country music, and every additional intervening year of country music, or what passes for popular country music, has like softened me on Toby Keith overall, like musically speaking, because it's just me getting older, and I don't like new rap either, but country music's shit closest to my heart and culture and background. I just hate it all so much now, like the new version of it, that like anybody from back then, including Toby Keith, I'm like, well, they beat the shit out of these motherfuckers today. I can tell you that much. Type of outlook on it. So that's sort of been the trajectory. But throughout all of that, I loved Should Have Been a Cowboy for sure. And some of his other songs from the 90s hit for me just fine, including this one is, fine. This one was never like a favorite of mine, How Do You Like Me Now? But I didn't hate it the way I hated a lot of his aughts era stuff.
For me, Not As Good As I Once Was is my second favorite, and this one is my third. And what are your other favorites then? Because to me, I'm listening to you and I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm like, is it just that you like Should Have Been a Cowboy and that's kind of it?
He's got Who's That Man or Who's That Guy? That song.
Yeah, I thought about doing that one. I do like that song. I just didn't feel like it fit the thing. Like this is more of a quintessential Toby Keith song. That one's good.
Well, especially at this era of my life, because that song, for people who don't know, that song is about him. His old lady has left him and they have kids together, and now she's with a new guy. So this guy's with his wife raising his children, and that's what the song is about. And it's like, I'm married with children, and I've never even come close to anything remotely like that happening, but that's always been like my nightmare scenario. Anytime I'm watching a TV show or something, it involves like a stepdad or some new guy or whatever. Like I've just been rewatching The Boys, the Amazon show, and in The Boys, the hitting ass black dude member of The Boys, his ex-wife has a new boyfriend who's like a MAGA white nationalist guy, and that guy's raising his daughter and shit. So I was literally just watching that last night, and he knocks him out, and that's like a nightmare scenario for me, which is why that song is another one that hits for me harder at this point in my life than it did back then, because I don't really like to listen to it, but it's like I appreciate what the song is about, because I'm like, yeah, that's some real shit for a man to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think Toby Keith as an artist, what he was great at is capturing and then directing men's insecurities and toxic masculinity, and then either celebrating it or preying on the fear like you were just discussing. I mean, I think that is a huge fear with me. I mean, dude, there's marriages in the world that only made it through certain time periods because a man was like, she's still cute enough to get a new man, and I can't watch another man raise my kids. Right. So I'm staying with her.
Yeah.
And so his ability to capture that is even this song that we're going to get into in a minute, How Do You Like Me Now? The whole thing is about getting rejected by a woman. I mean, Toby Keith's career after Should Have Been a Cowboy, from this song, essentially up and until the Willie Nelson stuff, and arguably some of the Willie Nelson stuff, it mirrors Joe Rogan. It mirrors incel culture. It mirrors everything that happened in this country post 9/11. He went from like, well, fuck it, I'll be brash. And we didn't have that at country at the time. Alan Jackson was humble and loved the Lord. George Strait was a quiet cowboy and a poet. And Garth Brooks was an art. He was loud, but he was an artist. You know, he was flamboyant, and he loves everybody, which is why they wouldn't let him on the fucking Opry till recently, because he likes queers. But my point is, there was a gap there. You know, this lack of tough masculinity in country music, which is supposed to be tough. He filled it and then some. And then the Iraq War allowed him to really, really, really dig his heels in. His boot heels.
Yeah, it's a goddamn shame that, as far as I can tell, I'm not as up on it as you know, as some people would be. But like, based off Try That in a Small Town, it seems like Jason Aldean is the one who's trying to do that now. And that's laughable to me.
Because he's like 5'8" and fat.
Yeah, exactly. He's a little manlet, and he is not a bad.
Well, that's old now. Part of the reason that I gave that speech up top about Toby, and I mean this, the dude did do it. Like the things now that are such a cliche from this era of country music, he was inventing them. And honestly, I believe in my heart that the Dixie Chicks thing was just another chapter of that theater. I think it was him playing that part and understanding before anybody did, controversy equals cash. You got to remember that's a wrestling phrase. Toby Keith did wrestling. Toby Keith had a brief stint in the wrestling circuit. He was capitalizing on America's anger and fear artistically. And it's genuinely kind of wild. Well, before we get too far into that, let's get into these lyrics, because I think this song sort of represents the beginning of that shift, because this is a call out song. This is a brash song. This is not what was happening in country music in 1999. Right now, the lyrics of this song, if you listen to country radio, this sounds like a dime a dozen. This sounds like what they've been doing for 2 decades now. This sounds so cliche. And it is, because he was the one who started to bring that in and invent that. Here we go. Let's do the first verse. Yeah, I was always the crazy one who broke into the stadium and wrote your number on the 50-yard line. You were always the perfect one and the valedictorian, so under your number I wrote, call for a good time. Now right there, what shitty behavior. Now here's the follow-up. This is him. This is, to me, is the Reddit incel. But I only wanted to get your attention, but you overlooked me somehow. Besides, you had too many boyfriends to mention, and I played my guitar too loud. This dude is slut shame. I mean, it's almost cliche.
It's pretty wild. It is pretty wild. I did not.
You didn't grow up with this.
I didn't grow up with this. My only, like, I started hearing about Toby Keith. I mean, I heard about him my whole life or whatever in pop culture, but him in post 9/11, whatever the hell he did in post 9/11, is when he started showing up in like liberal conversations of like, what are you, fucking Toby Keith? Like, he became the guy that represented the idiot white trash person, like, to the other side.
And that's such a profitable place to be in. Ask Kid Rock.
It's so good. So he's like the guy who represented that, which is amazing. But also he, like, in terms of, you know, I've gotten introduced to a lot of country music singers because of this show and you guys, and of all the if they're considered by the liberal elite white trash, Toby Keith is a little dirtier of the white trash. There's a little more soot on the white trash. Like, this guy is like there's something about the song, and I saw it via video. It's like I saw the video for it, which is why I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but I definitely think we should. Like, it is, it's such a funny, because I hadn't heard the song before, and what he's saying and how the video's playing out is just wild. I mean, you said it before the call.
We'll
like, and my first inclination was like, this is a rapper.
Yep.
Like, he did everything but throw piles of money in the air. You know,
the only difference, and this is where, there's a lot of people who say country is emo for people with a tractor. He kept just a touch of that rappers wouldn't allow. Rappers will use the line, "How you like me now," but they would not have shown any vulnerability in the sense of, "I just wanted to get your attention and you ignored me." It would just be like, "Hoes don't want me, now they all own me." You know what I mean?
So, right, yeah. Now honey's play me close like butter play toast, right? Like that type of idea. But since you guys have brought this up, I did think of, it's not a full song, it's a verse from a song. And I feel like it's pretty fucking analogous, and I feel like this kind of highlights how differently the same ideas can be imparted depending on the artist that's imparting them. Y'all tell me what you think about it, because it's the verse by Kendrick Lamar from the song Memories Back Then, which is a song by T.I. featuring B.O.B. and Kendrick Lamar. It's always hit for me. It's old now. It's from, I don't know when it's from. It's from probably like 2013. So it's like 10. God damn, that was over 10 years ago. But anyway, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so I'll read you the verse of everybody's verse in this song is about them like reflecting on an old flame or a girl from back in their past or something like that. But the other two, B.O.B. and T.I., they don't have any. It's very different type of feel than this Toby Keith song is. But the Kendrick verse, though, goes like this. He goes, "Wait, hold up. Is that you with them big old thighs after school? J305 gave me high five when I said I'm in hot pursuit. You said I won't ride until Kendrick drive a new Monte Carlo that cruise. And that shot my pride. I tried to improv, but no freestyle. I never do. You're looking for the N-word with the tallest fetty. You're overlooking every N-word that ain't ready to make it rain on you like about to break a levee. Hold up, that pussy petty. Your nails did, your hair did, your cell phone is selfish. It only got numbers that come with a Hummer. Her new prima donna, I smelt it. I tried to make you mine, ho. Tried to make some time, ho. But I ain't got the time or the patience to stop and wait in line, ho. Her dreams hold Versace. She fall for Armani. She only deal with rich N-words. Fuck you and Mitt Romney. And here comes the turn. I'm grown now. I'm on my own now. I'm hop in. Change my phone now. When I get home now, I got options. Fast forward. Wait, is that you with them big old thighs after school and your 3 kids and 3 baby daddies and a car note that's overdue? I know. And then the chorus starts. So, I feel like it's pretty much the same thing. He's talking like back in the day, you didn't have no time for me. You only, you had all these other dudes. He calls her a hoe multiple times. And at the end, he's like, I blew up. I hit now. You don't hit now. Fuck you. And that's like that's the general theme of that whole verse, I thought.
I agree completely. And I wasn't, if it sounded like I was trying to even argue at all, I wasn't. I was just saying that the only difference between him coming from the country perspective to me, and I pulled up Back Then by Mike Jones. Back in, the hoes didn't want me. Now I'm hot. These hoes all own me.
Yeah.
Rap has slightly less vulnerability than country. And one thing that I got to give Toby Keith his flowers here. He does a great job of including just enough country emo shit. I've got too many things pulled up. Let me find these lyrics again. Again, I only wanted to get your attention, but you overlooked me somehow. That's a slightly softer way of saying back then hoes didn't want me. There's just a little bit more. And I will get into it in the second verse, but people who are listening to this right now, there are women listening right now rolling their eyes at the incel Reddity aspect of this, rightfully so. But I need people to understand, to try and remember 1999, the man was sort of inventing this. That's not true exactly. I'm not saying Toby Keith's the first guy to make this move, but this wasn't as cliche as it is now. The dude was really, really, really genuinely, excellently capitalizing on men's insecurities in a new way. And I don't know if that's an artist or not, but it's fucking something you got to acknowledge.
Well, look, I don't know, Drew. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't say what I'm about to say. And I feel like maybe Too Shark can relate to this, maybe, because I know he was also a fat dorky fuck when he was younger.
Hell
like
yeah.
I was.
This song rules. I know what you're about to say. This song fucking rules.
You crushed in high school. So I was about to say, I get it is it is incel and weird and gross and all that stuff. But like, I'd be lying if I said like there weren't plenty of, you know, girls when I was in high school who wouldn't give me the time of fucking day, who then like later, you know, or like, and I wasn't hung up on any of them, but like in retrospect, you know, there is part of me. It's like, yeah, fucking kind of worked out, didn't it? For me, I mean.
Yeah, but
you know
imagine if you wrote a whole bit about that.
Right. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, like, I could sort of understand. And I never stalked none of these girls. I never did any kind of incel type shit. I never lost any sleep over them. I'm just saying, I understand the idea of like, couldn't get the time of day in high school, but, you know, now you hit and you kind of want to flex on them a little bit for that, especially if they do not currently hit, like the girl at the end of Kendrick's verse, you know, fucking 3 kids, 3 baby daddies, and a car note that's overdue. You know what I mean? While you out here living the high life, you know, I get it.
I'm probably doing a bad job, but I'm trying to say that Toby Keith nailed it here. You know,
right.
The fact that what he nailed has become this kind of growth, you know, it's like a thing. It's like this thing that people weren't talking about. And then once he and Ben Shapiro eventually and all these other people starts, then it grows into this online movement and you go, oh, that's fucking gross. But to be the one who could see that and capitalize on it is impressive. Go ahead, Tushar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderfully hilarious song. The first rap song that came to my head was Master P. The How You Like Me Now, gold teeth when I smile, try to take me out the ghetto, but we still buck wild. Hooty hoo. You know, like what?
Hell yeah.
But the fact that if you think about How You Like Me Now, just that line, there's 1,000 iterations of it in rap across all music. It's just like, and the reason why this song is specifically hilarious because it's vindictive for no reason.
Yeah, she didn't do anything. And it's almost like, and I hate to keep on talking about the video, but what shocked me about the video. No, let's do it. Talk about the video.
The video is so crazy because she shows up and it's a flashback, but then it basically shows this thing happen and she's there and he used that time not to court her, but to say, how you like me now, bitch. It's wild.
Let me give some more context. She shows up with this note and this rose and this handwritten note. I want to tell you how I actually feel about you after 20 years. And it shows this woman, and dude, it looks like Tucker Carlson's fucking wet dream when they start to describe lonely liberal women. And again, I literally wasn't even planning on being political at all in this, but it's just so wild how this dude essentially predicted the entire discourse of that corner of the internet with this video. There's this woman who's dressed like a lesbian. That might be luck, but it felt on purpose to me, who's alone. She is not with someone now. And she's got this note and this rose, and someone wants to tell her how they really feel about her. Meet me on the 50-yard line. And then she gets there, and there's a literal entire concert of him saying, fuck you, bitch, you can't have me, which is it's hilarious.
Right. But the thing is, though, I feel like most of these, like the incel types and stuff that, you know, that dominate that particular subculture and everything, they don't have, you know, they can't do a rock concert in the middle of the 50-yard line about how hard they hit now because they don't hit still. They're in a fucking, you know, in a basement somewhere. They're still neck beardy and they still, right. But
so they cheer on. This is one of the main reasons they claim to defend people who are accused of horrible things. They're very much like she was probably rejected. You know, who would want to rape her is like a very common line. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's the champion. Right. Again, I feel like we're a little in the weeds because I didn't mean to entirely get down that path. Let's go on to the second verse.
It's tough with this song. You can't really avoid that
especially
path.
The video.
Yeah.
When I took off to Tennessee, I heard you made fun of me. Okay. She may have done something wrong, but he only heard it. Never imagined I'd make it this far. Then you married into money, girl. Ain't it a cruel and funny world? He took your dreams and he tore them apart. And that's hilarious to me as the writer of this song. He never comes home and you're always alone. You hear your kids cry down the hall. Alarm clocks start ringing. Who could that be singing? It's me, baby, with your wake-up call. All right. This verse is fire. Like, fuck everything else I just said.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking.
And now I'm waking up your kids, bitch.
I'm saying, dude. I'm saying, like, I don't think it's just exclusively insect, and that's why I said earlier is like why I think it can be interpreted differently depending on who the artist is. Because Kendrick Lamar, nobody looks at Kendrick Lamar as being like exploiting that type of dude or anything like that. You know what I mean? Kendrick Lamar just hits, but it's the same. So it's like a lot of dudes, can relate to the idea of like a chick who would never give him the time of day for whatever reason, and now you hit and she don't hit, and that's like
back then, hoes didn't
like
want me. Now I'm hot, they all on me.
Right. Yeah. I'm saying, people can. And like you said, the verse is fine. Like especially spelling it out like that. You married for money. He treats you like shit. He's never at home. And then your alarm clock in the morning is me singing my 4th consecutive #1 hit song or whatever. I mean, it's all a pretty good flex.
Two things.
It's part of like.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, like, it's part of what when people think about fame and or money, that's what they want to do. I would go back and I would kill my enemies,
dude,
with pride.
Fucking Corey, who ain't here right now. When our first book came out, he sent signed copies to like his old high school principal and shit that I'm pretty sure in the signature he put basically "How do you like me now?" or the equivalent of it on there, because this person had told Corey he need to get his shit together. He's never going to amount to nothing or that type of thing. So he like literally signed it and be like, "Yeah, what about that? How's that make you feel?"
Here's the difference.
And like mailed it to him and shit.
Here's the difference. It is undeniably the principal's job to not be that person.
Right.
She, on the other hand, didn't owe him a date. Now, if she made fun of him, then we can see like, all right, it's not just that you rejected me. You were mean. You doubted me. This is one dedicated to my hater. That's why I think this is the most fire verse. And I didn't bring this song up or intend on just shitting on Toby Keith. I meant what I said in the opening monologue. I hated him, but I also loved him. The song is fire. And dude, even women like it because instead of imagining themselves as the woman, they imagine themselves as the man. And I know that people where we're from growing up, like their version of it would be like, now I'm hot or whatever it would be. You know what I mean? It probably wouldn't be now I got a lot of money, but there's a version of that for them. Andy loves this fucking song. Anybody who wants to stunt on somebody who didn't believe in him loves this song.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He's fire, dude. Like,
yeah.
we wouldn't hate him. We wouldn't hate him if we didn't love him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Jason Aldean ain't ever been on this program, won't be. He ain't shit. Ain't never been shit. Jason Aldean is 3 dudes who ate ceiling tiles in my high school homeroom class. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about the video. As we said, the video, she shows up at the field and then it does flashbacks. Now, the video goes a little harder to make it seem like she was mean to him. And this is something we've covered on here before where you go, all right, does the video count in terms of how we view this song? If you're watching the video, it does make her seem like she deserves it even more. And I don't know who directed it. I didn't get that far in my research. I got a baby. Everyone be easy on me out there listening. But I do wonder if the director of the video was like, even back then, kind of feeling some of the stuff we were just talking about. Even back then being like, man, we're going to have to make her look like more of a villain for this story to track.
Yeah.
Because it shows her laughing in his face.
Right.
Yeah.
So the video makes it a lot better or more palatable might be the best way to put it.
It's also, I don't know why I feel like I just keep saying different versions of the same thing, but it's also like, it's like a trope of like the nerd in high school who started some company that's on fire or something. What happens when he goes back to his high school reunion, right? Like, he fucking flies in on a helicopter or whatever. It comes out with 2 bitches on his arm and shit like that. And we all know the reason why. And a whole lot of people can relate to that. And it's like, you know, that's another version of what this song is about. And
I'm extremely envious that you could do that. And the fact that I'm sure you wouldn't, Trae, because it's like,
I'm not going to my high school reunion.
Well, and maybe you couldn't do I mean either. And maybe you couldn't do it for the same reason I could do it, because even though you were a nerd, like everyone was like, yeah, of course. Like, of course, the smartest guy we knew.
I got voted most likely.
Never stop reminding. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I am envious.
Are you sure it wasn't most likely to secede?
Hey.
No, that's
buddy.
my school.
She came in 15th.
Yeah.
Lost in a landslide.
Nah, I don't know.
There was one
I
black
just realized
kid.
it's this year. It's mine is this year. Like I said, I graduated in 2004. 20. So, goddamn. Anyway,
Don't dude, go back. Take your book.
I might do these girls. Some of my classmates came to my show in Bowling Green last year. People who I love, because Bowling Green's like an hour or so away from Salina, and they came and they were talking to me afterwards, and they were talking about the reunion and stuff. And I was like, well, it depends on my touring schedule and all that. You know what I mean? And they were like, no, we'll schedule it around your touring schedule. Like we'll, like, they're like the people that run. They're like, we'll wait and see what you can do, and we'll make it then or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, great.
All right.
But anyway,
I'm going to see if I can bring this up quickly. I want you to go, and I want you to wear this outfit. Okay. Present. Oh, wait. I got to pull it up right here. I want you to go to your reunion. I want you to take your book, our book, Trae. Both your books. Take all your books, even ones you didn't write, but ones that you've read. Take them all and wear this outfit. This is Toby Keith from the music video. Oh, man, I made it go away. I didn't mean to make it go away. Let me see if I can pull it back up. For everybody who's listening, you should watch this on YouTube if I can figure out how to get it up there. It'll be hilarious if I can't. Well, I fucked up bad.
What do you think? How is that like? Is that like the? I don't know, because he's always like trying to be like a badass, right? At least a little bit.
Yeah, it's a duster, which we've been talking about all week because Jason Isbell got divorced and bought him a divorce duster, which I think is so goddamn funny. But I think that the only part of this that ain't badass is the turtleneck sweater. And maybe but the rest of it, like cowboy hat and duster. I mean, dude,
sure.
The 90s in country music were very metrosexual. They were kind of gay. I mean, the other meme. Look at
him on pictures of Travis Tritt, dude. Fucking in that, like in like a denim vest and shit, holding his knee up fluid. Like that. It's funny. You think that's because like. This is now if you're only listening, it's a meme that Drew made. It's a picture of Toby Keith looking pretty metrosexual. It says, I blame it all on my roots. I look gay in boots. Do you think that was because it was like you couldn't, it was pre-Queer Eye and all that stuff, like you couldn't be openly, publicly gay still in the 90s? So it's like there was no danger of people actually outwardly thinking that. Am I making any sense? Do you know what I mean? Like,
you are making sense. I don't think I know what you're saying. I think it's more that, and this has happened a few times, the kids steal their culture from black people. You know what I mean? Like the youth of America, skaters and black people, like that's how they dress. But like skaters and black people start doing things, and then 7 years later, the kids are doing it. With 20 to 35-year-olds, things we made fun of for being gay, we start doing. And I mean literally gay, the way gay men dress. Mainstream America is often about 10 or 15 years, fashion-wise, behind gay men. So like skinny jeans. Do you remember how gay skinny jeans were according to everyone older than us? And then now it's the broiest thing in the world to wear skinny jeans. The most ultimate Rogan, I hate, liberals dude in the world wears skinny jeans. I think this was that version of that. I think this is the straight version of 80s gay. Doesn't he look like fucking George Michael from the 80s?
Yeah. The country fried version.
I think that's all it is. I think tough dudes make fun of the way the queers dress, and then young people in their 20s start doing it, and then eventually it becomes the machoist thing because it turns out gay people hit it dressing.
They sure do. Ain't no doubt about that. My gay uncle hits it dressing and clothes, and also just like salad dressings. He hits those two.
I was gonna make a mamaw joke, but I'm glad you made that one.
Yeah, like cornbread dressing. Yeah, he can make that work too. Yeah. Gay guys and mamaws both hit it dressing. That's funny. Anyway,
all right, we can get into some more verses, and then I want to sort of talk about Toby Keith's career broadly. And we haven't even gotten to the third act. We've kind of got caught up in this song. For people who haven't picked up on it yet, stands right in the middle between Toby Keith 90s, which was just trying to be George Strait. And that's when he wrote "Should Have Been a Cowboy" and "He Ain't Worth Missing" and not "That Ain't My Truck." What is it? "Who's That Man?"
So actually, just because you accidentally just said that, I wanted to go back to this earlier, but I knew you were trying to move on and do another thing. In retrospect, because that song "Who's That Man" by Toby Keith, that was at least a marginal hit. People knew that song. It got radio play and stuff. How the fuck did Rhett Akins, whatever his name was, like get away with "That Ain't My Truck"? Because it came out afterwards, right? And I like the song "That Ain't My Truck," but those are like.
Are you genuinely, earnestly asking how country music got away with copying country music? Because it is a genre full.
But it seems like a particularly brazen example of that in retrospect. Like I never even really thought about it until earlier, and I was like, "Dad, those are literally the same exact song. What, like 3 or 4 years apart? It's kind of wild." Because
it is wild, but
like a dude sitting outside of his ex-old lady's house, watching her live her life, and there's another dude there and sing. It's like the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we talked about this when we did "That Ain't My Truck," and
we probably did.
I just feel like it's the nature. I think it's just the nature of the industry and how they realized they could. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was like maybe in the 80s they were like, "Can we do that?" And then at some point, because it happened in the movies in the 90s and 2000s too. Remember when like competing studios would have basically the same movie?
Yeah. There's a name
I think
for that.
They were just like
Sam Productions or something like that.
Someone was in a meeting in the 90s in both industries, and they were like, "Nah, we can't do that." They just did it, and someone else went, "Why not?" And the whole room went, "Oh, I guess we can. It's just money, free money for us. We don't care about integrity." And I think that's the answer.
Right. Okay.
Hell yeah.
What I was saying is, real quick, pre this song, Toby Keith was just trying to be a George Strait. This song comes out, then 9/11 happens, and we've already touched on this, and he becomes this brash, chest out, on CNN talking about politics. "I support the troops. I will put a boot in your ass," guy. And then there is a third act to his career that we haven't gotten to yet, and I want to eventually today, which is sort of that guy grown up. A frat boy, a guy who will put a boot in your ass, but, I ain't in a long time. He even wrote a song about it. I ain't as good as I once was. And that's where you get Red Solo Cup. That's where you get Beer for My Horses, a lot more lighthearted take on the same kind of guy. My favorite, of course, is 90s Toby. I kind of now, and it's sort of like what you were saying earlier, Trae, I like third act Toby because I compare it to just the worst, most god-awful shit in the world. And
right.
You know what? Beer for My Horses, fucking giving Willie Nelson Renaissance, hell yeah, dude. But that middle act, what a doozy.
Yeah. No, I agree completely with that. Again, in the moment, I didn't like the third act either. Like Red Solo Cup. Too Sharp. Do you know the song Red Solo Cup? No. It's Red Solo Cup. I fill you up. Let's have a party. Let's have a party. Right?
I think I've heard
There's a story. Drew, I don't know if you know if this is true or not. Probably apocryphal. I don't know. But there's a story that Toby Keith was like sitting around with some other Nashville people and talking about how hard he hit, right? Because he had been on a heater for like a whole decade or whatnot, and was like they were drinking now. They had a keg or something, and they were drinking out of the Red Solo Cup. And he's like, "God damn, I've been on I've been so on fire, I could probably make a hit song out of this solo cup right here. And they were like, the hell you can, Toby, or something like that. And then he did. I have no idea if that's actually true, but that's what I always heard. But anyway, I didn't like those songs at the time, but it's like Drew said, and like I said earlier, now in retrospect, as compared to the shit that's on country radio today, fucking Kane Brown and Diplo and whatever, like it does hit harder for me than that. At least I can appreciate it's like at least that seems way more country than this shit.
Real quick question about his, because I don't obviously know him, which is kind of why I'm here, I guess. What was his personal life a shit show? Was it up and down? Was it public? Or was it
public at all? He was facing the media. He was very much just like a guy who loves America and loves doing country music. And he was always with the troops. I mean, it seemed like to me publicly, he was constantly with them, associating himself with the flag. His biggest hit probably in terms of money that he made was literally the verse was, we'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way.
Yeah, Too Short. I've told this story a bunch, so I'm sure some people listening have heard me tell this story, so I'll try to like abbreviate it. But speaking of that song, the last time I went out on Broadway in Nashville, like downtown honky tonkin', which I haven't wanted to do since I was fucking 22 or something, but about 6 or so years ago, I was in town with a bunch of like Hollywood people, like Californians who've never been to Nashville, and they wanted to go they wanted to go on Broadway specifically. And I was like the local or whatever. So I was like, okay, fine. So we go down there and we're in one of those bars on Broadway and they have been doing covers the whole time. I'm looking around at all these people from Ohio and shit cosplaying as my cousin Kenny Ray and stuff. And I'm drunk and I'm already mad about it all. And then I'm just sort of sitting in the corner seething. It's like redneck fantasy camp that's going on in this Nashville honky tonk or whatnot. And then this dude behind the bar, he jumps up on top of the bar. He's got like combat boots on, a big camo shirt, but with the sleeves cut out of it. So a big camo vest with like a fake bandolier over him or something. He's got long flowing hair and he pulls out a huge flag, American flag from behind the bar. He starts waving it back and forth as the band starts doing a cover version of that song Drew was just talking about, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. Everybody in there singing along with, we'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way, while this douchebag on the bar waves the flag back and forth. And like I said, I was already pissed off. So I started screaming, Toby Keith is a registered Democrat. Toby Keith is a registered Democrat, right? People were like, what the fuck? And they kicked me. The bartender was like, shut the fuck up. I was like, you shut the fuck up. And I started saying, I was like, name 2 Billy Joe Shaver songs, God damn it, and all this shit, just really showing my ass, and they kicked me out. And that was the last time I went downtown. I told people that story later, and they're like, is that true though? Because I knew that I had read it. I knew for a fact I had read it. So I looked it up. You asked about his personal life. He used to be in the 90s and stuff. He was a registered Democrat. He came from a family of like Southern Democrats in Oklahoma and shit. He used to be a Democrat, but he's somewhere around not long after 9/11 in the George Bush era, he flipped all the way back then. So when I was saying this in 2018 or whatever, that it was not at all true and hadn't been true for at least 15 years. But like, that's the only thing I know about Toby Keith's personal life, except Drew, the infamous story, the Christopherson story. We'll get into that right now. Let me say first, because it just occurred to me, some people might not even know about the George Bush era and the Dixie Chick stuff. We have listeners who listen to us for other reasons other than being country or redneck themselves. And people are aware, but they don't really know maybe the story. Here's the story. Toby Keith essentially attacked the Dixie Chicks as being unpatriotic because in France, of all places, Natalie, the front lady of the Chicks, said fuck George Bush because of the Iraq war and the lack of weapons of mass destruction that he had clearly lied about. And he attacked them as unpatriotic, but then also publicly was like, they shouldn't be played on the radio anymore. And then supposedly, privately, and I don't know if this is true, I don't even know why he would do this, like tried to make that happen. And by the way, it did start to happen. He genuinely cost them millions of dollars. That made him a sort of firebrand who was talking about politics. Now he's on CNN and Fox News all the fucking time. He said on, I think CNN, maybe Fox,
that Obama was not the first black president because he ain't even black. In the sense that a guy who's eloquent and that smart.
He's really saying
you don't talk
president's
black.
The glass is half white.
Yes. And there's obviously this hatred for him because he done that, and it's understandable. For me, the hatred, and again, I love him and I hate him, comes from now he's like now he's dead. But then he became like a free speecher and an anti-safe spacer. And it's sort of like, and then supposedly privately, he's been like a bit contrite and like it got out of hand. You know, I was speaking my piece, they were speaking their piece, and it got out of control. But it's like, yeah, but you never acknowledged that. You never told your people to back off. You never like said, oh, wait a minute. I didn't actually want to ruin their career. You know what I mean? I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, the Christopherson stuff, which leads to the most infamous story surrounding Toby Keith, Tushar. Mm-hmm. And we've told it on here before, but it's worth telling again. Supposedly they were at Willie Nelson show together. Chris Christopherson's one of the outlaws. He's also one of the most progressive people ever in country music. And as he was about to go on, supposedly,
he also was a veteran, by the way. Like he was super progressive, but he served in the Army. He was also a Rhodes Scholar. Like he's just like one of the most.
I think he was a Ranger.
I think that's what I was going to say about what 100%. I believe he was an Army Ranger and a Rhodes Scholar and one of the hittingest country songwriters of all time, and a hitting ass actor. He's like one of the most head to toe legit dudes that's ever walked the face of the earth, as far as I'm concerned. He's awesome.
And Toby Keith is a fan of his, and there are many people who say that what I'm about to tell you, it didn't happen. But then there are other people who say it did happen, but it wasn't quite as heated as Ethan Hawke wrote this in Rolling Stone. He was supposedly there. He's about to go on, and Toby says, either seriously or most likely, if he did say it half jokingly, hey, Chris, none of that liberal shit tonight. To which Chris turns and gets in his face and says something along the lines, maybe somebody can pull up the quote, but I'm sure at home you can, but I'll paraphrase it. Something along the lines of, boy, unlike you wrapping yourself in that goddamn flag, I actually served this fucking country, and I'll say whatever the fuck I want. And if you ever say something like that to me, I'll stomp a mud hole in your ass. And then he went on and played Chris Christopherson shit because he's an outlaw. That story kind of caught like wildfire. Toby Keith immediately said that didn't happen. Ethan Hawke's a liar. And Christopherson said, no comment. Then for years, the story was that didn't happen. And then Christopherson was doing a comeback tour in like 06 or 08, and someone asked him about it again, and it came back up, and he didn't deny it. He said he didn't remember to ask his wife. She's the only one who knows the truth, but she won't talk to the media. And for me, this is my Santa Claus is real, wrestling is real moment. Like, you won't ever convince me that Christopherson would have said anything else if it was, like, it being true is why he said that. Because if it wasn't true, why the fuck would he say, I don't remember?
Right. Yeah. I want to say real quick, I misspoke earlier and I said Christopherson was one of the most hitting dudes on earth or whatever I said. He's still with us. I believe correct. He is as of now.
He is.
Yeah. He's 80 something, I guess, but he's still out there.
I took that as you meant he's old now. He don't hit, but
I know. No, no, I assume he still hits wherever he's at. Whatever, hope he's enjoying his golden years.
Now they did a movie together. I think before that story come out. So there's a lot of evidence out there that people will be like, no, they're at least buddies or whatever. But I'm gonna choose to believe whatever I want to believe. It's not like Toby Keith can get mad at me for taking a narrative and running with it. Especially now. All right, let's do this third verse and wrap us up. Oh, I'm an idiot. There were only 2 verses. They just repeat the chorus twice. I guess we already wrapped it up.
Hits. Well, yeah. I mean, I know we're coming up on an hour and you got to go to San Diego, so that certainly works out.
All right, well, guys, to wrap it up, how do you like Toby Keith now, Tushar?
How you like him? Well, I like him now that I know him.
I like him.
He had to die for me to notice him, which is kind of wild.
No, that's normal.
Yeah, but I do appreciate him bringing the boys back together. Well, 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, I kind of already covered that earlier as far as the trajectory of my opinion on Toby Keith, and him having died isn't really going to change it, I don't think, very much.
No, I mean, same for me. I think Toby Keith is a great songwriter. I think that's pretty undeniable. What he chose to write about, it ain't up to me, but I didn't like it. The stuff with the chicks, I'll never get over. I just find it all disgusting. But the sort of like becoming the front man for supporting the troops, somebody was going to do it. You know what I mean? You can't get mad at country music for being what it is. It's right wing and it loves America and it's xenophobic. But I do think it's fair to look at one guy and be like, damn, you really played into that. And we're a little bit of a hypocrite at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts before we go? This was fun, boys. I'm glad that Bubba shot another podcast.
Yeah, me too. It's for me. That's all I got.
All right.
Me too.
My show in Raleigh was canceled. I've put enough out on the internet. I think people know about that. They couldn't get the doesn't matter why. It didn't have nothing to do with me, and it wasn't their fault. I'll just say that. It was just some bad circumstances.
All right. Well, y'all can go to TraeCrowder.com and check out my dates if you want to. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I got nothing.
Hell yeah. All right. That's a good way to
I don't
end it.
remember how Bubba ends. It's been so long since we've done one.
I mean,
You got a song you're going to play, or?
Who knows? I honestly don't remember how. I think this is how it ends. This is probably the last ever episode.
Bubba Shot the Podcast, and that's right, a show about country at its height. Don't expect no shit from 2005. Bubba Shot the Podcast.